Now the national weather for Monday. Showers in Cairns 31 and Perth 29. Fine in Brisbane 29, Canberra 22, Sydney 23, Adelaide 26, Broome 35, Alice Springs and Townsville both 32. Newcastle, chance of a late shower 24. Becoming fine in Melbourne 21 and Hobart 16. Afternoon showers in Darwin 33. ABC Local Radio, in tune with Australia.
Hello, Monica Attard here with Sunday Profile. Tonight, La Stupenda. Well, she's 78. She says she still hums around the house, though these days, according to Dame Joan Sutherland, that voice is no longer a soprano, but rather more baritone. Hard to believe, but, says Dame Joan, age has taken its toll. Now resident in Switzerland with her husband, Richard Bonning, the conductor, the man who many said was the making of Dame Joan, La Stupenda has few regrets, although she does say she's sorry for saying in public in 1994 that she was not pleased to be interviewed in an Australian post office by a Chinese or Indian to get an Australian passport. But most of the Dame's life has passed with more praise than controversy. Her following is legendary, and whilst many would still love to hear her sing, indeed we asked her to, that time, says Dame Joan, is in the past. I began by asking Dame Joan Sutherland whether as a child she had always dreamed of singing.
Well, I did actually. It was a sort of a hopeless dream, but I was a mad lover of the voice of Kirsten Flagstad and many others, and Gully Kutchi as well. But I just always sang. I don't remember when I didn't sing. So I had a voice of some kind, and I used to use it singing around the garden and the house.
So what motivated you to sing? Was it just something that just came naturally to you? You just felt a need to sing and you used to sing?
Well, there was always music in the house. My mother had a mezzo-soprano voice, and she used to practice every day, although she didn't sing professionally, but she used to help out some of her friends with some of the sort of societies that did music halls on afternoon teas and so on, and it was a beautiful mezzo-soprano voice, and she had been very well trained by, I think, who was the greatest teacher in Australia at that time. He was a pupil of Mathilde Marchesi. His name was Burns Walker, and there were many other fine voices came out of his studio. He wanted her to go abroad, and she said, oh, no, I'd rather go and watch the cricket with my friends.
And, of course, she had a family.
She married a very nice widower with a ready-made family, and then she had two daughters with, again, to add to the four that were already in the family. So it was a happy household, and there was music of all kinds, and I sort of went for the opera.
And the household was in Sydney?
Yes, it was at the time. The time I'm speaking, it was at Point Piper. My father died, and we moved. My mother and my sister and myself moved back to the old house in Wallara, which had been her home.
And where did you go to school, Dame Joan?
I went to school at the Church of England school in Waverley, St Catherine's, which was the oldest girls' school in Australia, they say.
So when did you begin to study opera? When did that aspect of your life begin?
Well, I didn't really start to study seriously until I was 18.
For any particular reason?
I was at school, and I then went to secretarial college and was holding down a secretarial job. And I won a small scholarship and started studying, and that was it. I went on from there. I'd won a few competitions in Australia, and with the money and what I'd earned as a secretary, I decided I'd better go off and see if I could do any better overseas. So
where did you work as a secretary?
Oh, first of all, I think the radio physics laboratory at the university. That was during the war still. And then I was a secretary to a firm of farm suppliers. They sold everything from wine to combine harvesters.
I bet they can't believe that their Joan became Dame Joan Sutherland.
Well, they can't, but I occasionally get a little card from one or two of them.
Oh, how delightful.
Yes.
Dame Joan, now let's move on to your operatic career, because very early on in your career you were dubbed La Stupenda, and you became arguably the finest bel canto specialist in modern opera. Can you describe that journey to us?
Oh dear, that would take a long time. Dear, it was like 42 years or something. Never mind.
Well, what influenced you? I mean, did your husband influence your choice of bel canto?
Oh, very much. No, it was definitely a twosome. He was of great importance to my career. He understood the repertoire very much. In fact, I think more than anybody who was around at that time, and he sort of found arias and songs that I could sing to advantage, and especially when we started recording, many things that had come out of his hidey-hole cupboards. He was a great collector, and he always collected sort of music that interested him as possible use for me, and it sort of paid off.
Now, bel canto means quite literally beautiful singing, you know, and the secret...
We don't get too much of it today, do you believe me?
Really? We'll get on to that in a moment, but first can I just ask you, the secret, I read, to mastering it is passing from one musical phrase to the next without interruption. Now, I assume that you weren't initially trained in the style, so how did you learn it?
Well, I think my mother was trained in that style, and I copied what she did from the age of, well, as far as I can remember, from the age of 5 or 6. I probably was copying her before that, but I don't remember. I used to sit down at her feet while she did her scales and exercises or sang a few songs. She used to do some vocal work every day, and of course I was at home, I wasn't at school by then, and sort of enjoyed copying her, and she used to correct me, but she says she didn't teach me, but she laid a foundation, and what she did lay was a long legato line through the middle of the voice. The middle of the voice is the anchor of the whole range of the voice, and if you have a firm middle, a beautiful middle, you have to sing with the rest of the voice, the lower register and the upper register, with one line. You join those 3 registers together and you get a long vocal line. And that is the basis, actually, of all singing, never mind just bel canto, that you must have you must learn to breathe properly, which she actually taught me, basically. And you must learn to breathe, support and project sound. And the sound must be beautiful, always, soft or loud, and you have to have an even line through the whole of the range.
And so did your husband have a role in changing your voice in any way?
Oh, definitely. Definitely, because I was all geared to be a so-called dramatic soprano, and I was singing much heavier arias and thinking about much heavier roles than I actually ended up singing. And he said, I don't understand you. He said, you sing all these heavy arias and that you're being guided into the heavier repertoire, but he said, you've got a real top. He said, when you're singing around the house, you go up to the top of the voice without any problem. And yet if you try and sing a high C in one of these heavy arias, it's a bit of a difficulty for you to get there. So we worked on that, and it didn't take too long for me to realise that he was absolutely right.
So, Dame Joan, what opera do you enjoy singing in most?
Oh, I loved Norma. I think that was, for me, the high point of my whole repertoire.
Why?
Basically, the music is so wonderful, and the music of the other singers is also fantastic. And Norma is a real woman. It's all fraught with high-flown drama, and it has nothing but ascend in drama and musical ecstasy, I might say. Another